Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Zach with an H here on October 10th in the year 2025. We've had people of all different backgrounds. We've had athletes, we've had content. Actually, we're going to scratch that. We've not had athletes. We're here today with one I'm going to introduce in a second. We've had people of all areas of sport, from writers to content creators to broadcasters to PA announcers. Now we've got the player himself. If you don't know who Eric Demers is, he led all of Division III in scoring in his final season at Gordon College, located in Wenham, Massachusetts. Got the opportunity to play for the Spurs Summer League. He played with the Maine Celtics. He's lit everybody on fire with that three-point stroke, which he shot at better than 40% for multiple years in college. A college career high of 49 against the Nichols Bison, one of Gordon College's rivals. But Eric Demers, we're going to talk all about your ball career, and very excited to have you on the show today. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate the opportunity.
So we started, as we always do, in the beginning. So, Eric, when were you first introduced to the game of basketball?
Yeah, I think it's not from day one, but from a very young age. My dad was a high school coach. My uncle played college basketball. So I think just like anybody else, it's the things that your family's interested in, you kind of get introduced to first. And then if you take a liking to it, you kind of pick it up. So definitely was born into a basketball family and kind of decided that I enjoyed it myself and picked it up from there.
Do you have an earliest viewing memory, just as a fan, whether it's watching college, NBA, or any other leagues?
My dad splits season tickets with the Celtics, so I was probably 6 or 7, but I got to see Michael Jordan play on the Wizards back in the day after his retirement.
It's an interesting era, right? You think about the players that were on that team, and you look back. Obviously, he got to handpick his roster, but you see it, and you're like, oh wow, Larry Hughes, Christian Leitner, just so many interesting names that he suited up with while he was playing there. It's just such a fun. Brought back some old teammates. Very interesting chapter. Kwame Brown, good days with the Wizards.
Yeah, the early 2000s NBA is a unique period for NBA basketball.
Yes, and so was the first career, Eric, that you wanted to have as you got introduced to the game by your family to be a player, or was there something else that had your heart as a young kid before basketball?
I think every young kid dreams of that, whether it be a Broadway actor, a professional athlete, a TV star. I think it's easy to dream of that, but as a 6'2" white guy from a small town, you never really don't know how much of a reality that could be. So I think I always dreamed of it, and then kind of as my college career continued, it became more of a reality. I thought I could maybe go overseas and get my master's paid for and do it for a year or two, and then kind of as my career progressed at Gordon, it became more of a reality that this could be a full-time gig for me.
And what was it, Eric, that drew you to Gordon College? Because you talk about, growing up in a small town. To those that don't know Gordon, at least while I was at Endicott, Gordon had maybe 11 to 1,200 kids, very small campus. A lot of people not familiar to the North Shore have probably never heard of one in Massachusetts. And they may also not know that you got to play for a former NBA player, Todd Murphy, as big 7-footer, who was your head coach. He was the starting big man on the expansion Timberwolves in their first season.
Mhm.
So what drew you to Gordon?
Well, Gordon was actually the first school that reached out to me my junior year of high school. Never heard of Gordon College. Wasn't too familiar with the North Shore growing up near Cape Cod. I always thought north of Boston was just New Hampshire and ski territory in the winters. Never really spent a bunch of time on the North Shore, but they were the first school to recruit me. And then they just showed the most interest in me throughout my recruiting process, taking the time to go to multiple high school games. Spending time with my family, building that relationship, and then just having the opportunity to play right away was something I valued a lot throughout the recruiting process.
And as we now get to your days of actually being a Gordon College Fighting Scot, how did being a starter from day one help with your confidence, getting comfortable and being able to kind of get to your spots and know that it's just okay to let it fly?
Yeah, I don't think I was that efficient as a freshman in college, but the opportunity to come into a young team, a kind of a rebuilding team at the time, and just kind of have the green light to not only shoot but just make mistakes and grow. we started three freshmen my freshman year, and just having the opportunity to grow with those guys and kind of be thrown in the fire and just figure it out as we go was helpful in the long run, and definitely helped build my confidence along the way.
I would also actually add, as I look at your numbers, you actually got off to a nice start. You hit 13 of 26 over your first two games, 7 threes, 36 points, against Leslie and Fisher. You look at your first conference game, and but people, again, that don't follow the CCC was loaded with scores. You put up 17 and 25 as one of the three freshmen starting. So obviously, it only went uphill, and we're going to get to your senior year. But I guess talking about that starting lineup, how did being on a young team in the beginning maybe help you maybe find your voice or just find your ability as you went through that first season?
Yeah, I think Coach Murphy was really, really great with kind of never like setting a boundary on his players, kind of letting us kind of push the limit. And if he had to reel us back, he would. So he kind of gave me the freedom to really find myself as a basketball player, as a scorer, the freedom to be aggressive, and if at times if needed, he could kind of reel me back in a little bit. But just between me and a couple of the other players like Garrison and Jaron, who leading us at point guard position, just kind of giving us that freedom to really push the limits. And then he kind of direct us where needed.
And this was a conference. You look at some of the guys like Kamal Walker and Max Matroni with Endicott. You had the Echevarria Bruton duo. Both scored 2,000 as teammates with Nichols, Austin Cooney, Roger Williams. Keith Brown then came in and broke the Endicott scoring record. You had Bryce Boggs over at Salve. You had kind of had scores on every team. So how did playing in such a tough conference from the beginning help you as well with just getting those competitive juices and keeping them out there, knowing every night might be a battle?
Yeah, I think the former CCC conference doesn't get enough credit, to be honest. I think people look at it as kind of like a mid-major of Division III basketball, but just in my time at Gordon, I think there was five or six other 2,000 point scorers in the conference. I think that's pretty rare at any level of college basketball. So it was fun. I mean, a lot of scores, a lot of talent at the Division III level, a lot of like battles, especially at the guard position. So it made my experience even better competing against those guys.
And then we get ahead to your fifth and final season with Gordon. So you averaged 33.4 points per game. You made 142 threes, 842 points scored, including 3 games of 40, including back-to-back 40 burgers against Nichols and Plymouth State. So what clicked for you that year that just enabled you to go off in the way that you did?
I honestly think it wasn't anything different. The year before, we had a really good team. I got to play with Garrison DeVivier, who scored 1,900 points, 1,300 rebounds, all conference guy, 4 years straight. So we were kind of a 1-2 punch my first 3 years at Gordon, and then he graduated. So it's just kind of sacrificing in the early years, I guess, selfishly for myself to put the team first. And we had a lot of great players made able to make a run to the conference championship game the year before. So just kind of with that class graduating, I knew it was kind of transitioning to a Gordon rebuild, and I was kind of the one that could keep it competitive for a year. So it was just more of opportunity, less talent on the team, just more opportunity for me to kind of step out and play my game.
And if anyone has or hasn't seen games at some of the gyms that you played in, and they talk about that conference being as competitive. We talk about the competition level, but the fans everywhere you went are packing it, and you really get a nice feel with all the campus gyms being so close to where the students are. So how did you kind of feed off the energy of the crowd, and how exciting was it to play in these high stakes games against teams knowing you got a full gym no matter where you were every night, which you really don't get across Division 3?
Yeah, I think I was just talking to somebody this past week actually about it and how unique it is to play in front of familiar faces and look into a crowd and most people, especially at home games compared to I mean, my last year in Spain, every arena is 7 to 10,000 people, and it's just a bunch of strangers. You have no idea who it is, and as cool as that is, I think it's so much fun where you can hit a big shot or do a big play, and you look over and your friends, your classmates, your family are just going nuts in the stands. So it was just such a fun experience to play close to home and be able to play in front of those familiar faces.
And we talk about familiar faces, moving to the next step, so your professional career. So Eric, you played in the basketball tournament and you for Team D3 and you just absolutely went off. But did you have any inklings that your play there would lead you to the places that you've gone since then?
Yeah, it's such a unique timeline for me to get my career started with COVID and everything. It took me 18 months to get my first playing gig with the Spurs, but Coach Reg over at We Are D3 gave me an opportunity to play in the TBT, and not that I don't think it can be replicated, but I was very fortunate with the timeline of TBT being before NBA Summer League because of the COVID calendar. It's something that is no longer. TBT is usually during NBA Summer League or after. Um, so it was just really just perfect timing and taking advantage of an opportunity where I was able to play on ESPN in TBT and played really well. And then the next day, my agent got 7 or 8 NBA teams calling, whether it be about summer league, training camp, G League, stuff like that. And at the time, the Spurs just seemed like the best fit for me following that game.
Then how would you describe your experience in the summer leagues? It seems like it's 10 days of games. You're playing what, four times, competition stiff. Every team is there, and only four make the playoffs. What was the vibe like? What was it like being in Vegas and playing, and how would you kind of look at that experience?
Yeah, first off, I think being in Las Vegas for 2 weeks is way too long. But the opportunity with the Spurs was great. On the court, it wasn't what I was hoping. I decided to play for them before the NBA draft, and they ended up drafting 2 guards in the draft, so kind of got pushed down the depth chart a little bit. But I mean, to be in their Spurs facility, an NBA facility, and having Tim Duncan, Becky Hammon on the sidelines, watching you practice every day, and then to be able to just go compete and network with all 30 teams being in Las Vegas. It's kind of unique the way they have it set up at a venue with multiple gyms and all these games, and kind of being able to have the credentials to kind of just float around with all this NBA personnel. As much as I was focused on basketball, I know it's so much bigger than basketball for me. I always am thinking of like networking is the most important thing in this world. So there's going to be a day where I'm going to need a job, and hopefully it will be in basketball. So just being able to be around those people, introduce myself, and network and have those conversations was such an added bonus to not only being a player in the NBA Summer League.
You actually got some good chats with Tim about his career. Did you talk about the bank shot? Did he give you any shooting tips
No,
over there?
I am very low key when I'm around big time NBA players. It's just, hey, nice to see you. How are you? And kind of keep it moving. I don't like to bother too much.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. And so we move ahead to your time with the G League now. You spent a year with the Maine Celtics with a few guys that got called up. I know you played some games as well with Sam Hauser, who's since come in now, signed that 4 year, $45 million deal with the Celtics. So, what would you say are some of your favorite G League memories? And would you say it was an overall positive experience playing there with the Maine?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect after Summer League due to the rules. Since I did play Summer League, I had to go through the G League draft process. So my wife and I, we had our apartment in Beverly packed up on draft day, and assuming we were going somewhere far away, and my phone rings and it's the GM of the Maine Celtics saying they drafted me. They the one part that they did not tell me was they told my agent they were doing me a favor for a local guy that they were just going to bring me in a training camp and then cut me at the end. So and then I walk into training camp and there's about 10 former NBA players of some sort, whether it be a two-way or actual NBA roster players, and a week-long training camp. And every G League team does this, but at the end of training camp, you either go to the NBA facility or the front office of the NBA comes and watches you scrimmage live. So Brad Stevens and the staff came up to Maine one afternoon, and we played just one half of basketball, two 12-minute quarters, and I had 25 points and 5 assists. And my buddy who now works in the front office of the Maine Celtics said Brad walked into the meeting that day and said, "Yeah, you can't cut that guy. Unfortunately, he's got to stick around for a little bit longer." So I was very fortunate to be in Maine. Opening night roster, I think I was the only guy without NBA experience. The Celtics, their way about going to the G League is kind of loading up with the most talent possible. So being around true NBA players and seeing how they go about their business helped shape me to be the professional I am today on a day to day.
And who are some of the guys while you were there that you say you learned from the most?
Yeah, I mean, Sam Hauser's a close friend of mine. I was able to build a great relationship with him and his now wife, become great family friends. But just seeing how he goes about his process, how he started on the two-way and now is able to be a key player for the Celtics, especially on a championship roster. Luke Cornett, Theo Penson, Ryan Arcidiacono. I mean, the list goes on and on of guys who've played at and contributed at such a high level, whether it's a NCAA national championship in Ryan or Luke and Sam, who've now are NBA champions. So just kind of seeing their process and seeing how they go about and handle their business, and for them to kind of take me under their wing a little bit, forever grateful for.
And then from your season in the G League, you've been able to then now go play international ball. So what would you say have kind of been the most unique parts, maybe the biggest differences now going to other countries to play the game versus just being in the United States?
Yeah, I think just the full on family experience for me. I'm married. I got two little kids, a 4 and a 1 year old. My daughter was born in Spain, my first year over there. So just kind of embracing the journey, embracing the culture. The places I've been able to live, I've been able to live on a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. I've been able to live in cities now that have 1.7 million people. Like I've kind of experienced every like type of living in different countries, and just the opportunity to explore and embrace what basketball's given me outside the court has been great, and then just on the court embracing the different styles that basketball has to offer all the way around the world. It's kind of every country kind of has their unique thing and their style. So trying to be flexible and learn and just embrace the journey, and each role that's been given to me.
And I know this is a question I'm sure you've gotten before, but I'm sure it never gets easier to answer. But if you had to define a favorite moment in your career so far, Eric, would you have a specific one that you would pick out and say this is the moment where it's like wow, or something that's really stands out to you when you think back on what you've done thus far?
Yeah, I think there's two for sure. One's probably definitely going into my second year in the G League. I got a call um, when I was actually driving back up to Boston saying they were going to sign me on a training camp deal. So being in the Celtics facility, signing an actual NBA contract, even if it was for just a week, especially being from Massachusetts and growing up a Celtics fan is definitely a great memory. And then I had the opportunity to play a couple games against Isaiah Thomas in the G League. So I was a big Isaiah Thomas fan when he was on the Celtics. Growing up back in my high school and early college days, and then fast forward a few years later, and he's trying to isolate me at the top of the key in a G League game. It's kind of goes full circle.
Now, how obviously Isaiah Thomas at his peak. We talk about a guy that we watched, last pick of the draft, 30 points a game, conference finals level player, getting them there, 50 in the playoffs. So, what was it actually like going against him? Because I know a lot was made of his time in the G League, trying to get back to the association.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually worked his camp in Boston when he was on the Celtics, and I used to think he was a nice guy. And then I get on the court with him, and I'm the quote unquote one short white guy out there, and he's trying to get me switched onto him every possession down so he can isolate against me. But he's just a true professional, ultimate competitor, and an absolute hell of a scorer. That's for sure.
And what would you say, Eric, to those that want to go and play professional basketball? What is your advice to them?
I think just anyone who has a dream of whatever it may be is to truly pursue it. If you have the opportunity, and the support, whether it be financial support, family support. I think everyone should at least chase their dream for a certain period of time. That way, you have no regrets when looking back on it. I'm more than grateful to say I've been playing professional basketball for 5 years. My wife and I used to say we'd give it 3 years, and that was kind of our timeline. Then we'd reevaluate, and now I'm 28 and I'm still going. And our next thing is all right at 30. We'll reevaluate this and see where we're at as a family and things like that. But just never I would say never be the one to close the door. Let someone like make someone else make the decision to close the door for you. Like truly give yourself an opportunity to pursue it if you love it, because there's nothing better than doing what you love for a living, for sure.
And also interesting that you obviously it's important to get the family. Interesting nugget that I feel like isn't as commonly known, but did you know that PJ Tucker was never going to rejoin the NBA because he entered the league in 2006. He lasted 1 year with the Raptors, then he was gone. His wife is the one that encouraged him to turn down the million guarantee to go play in the summer league in the NBA with the Suns 5 years after. Then he got in, and then he played another 14 years. So it's all about the support base you have, right? And I'm sure for you, having the belief of your wife and now of your kids, it's the energy you need to keep going and make all the best decisions for how it's going to go.
No, and absolutely. And every opportunity is different. You could not fit in one place, but the next place you could thrive. So it all depends on fit and the opportunity. But that's a unique story. I didn't realize that one.
I'll send you the article after. It's really interesting. But as we continue, a couple questions outside of your playing career as we wrap up. So, do you have a favorite jersey, Eric, that you ever owned?
Favorite jersey? Maybe most of them are all Celtics. I got Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, but probably I got Paul Pierce's like almost like a throwback jersey on his retirement night. I was in the building for that. So that was definitely a cool one, good memory for sure.
And now, as a chef, off the court, in the kitchen, do you have a favorite dish that you like to make?
Filet. I'm a big steak guy. I could eat steak 5, 6 days a week. So anytime I get to be home in the summers grilling some steak is a good day for me.
You going medium, medium well, or medium rare on it?
I used to be a medium well guy, and then traveling around the world and seeing how other countries barely cook their meat, I've definitely transitioned to be a medium to medium rare.
Okay. And from your days at Gordon, just curious from a personal standpoint here, do you have a favorite restaurant you went to, and did you like the pizza at Little Italy in Beverly with the sweet sauce?
I'm not a sweet sauce guy. It was okay. If someone else was paying for it, I'd eat it, but I wasn't gonna, as a broke college kid, I wasn't going out of my way
Okay.
to go there. I'm trying to think of spots in there's so many. I mean, the North Shore, I feel like is such a like a hidden gem for food in the New England
Yep.
area. I mean, if my parents were coming to town and splitting the bill, I'd probably go to Woodman's in Essex and get some
Yep.
seafood. Or there was a place, it's no longer, but it was called the Black Cow in Hamilton, Wenham. It was really good. Hale Street Tavern's always a win.
Yep.
La
Very few
Victoria
months
for a
ago.
little takeaway fast food is a couple of our favorites. So.
You know what's cool about Woodman's that also a lot of people don't know is that Woodman's was the scene of a big Adam Sandler movie because in Grown Ups they shot the whole Vosswater chocolate wasted scene in Woodman's.
Yeah.
So good taste. All right, we got one more for you here on the food department, and then we will wrap this up. So I ask everybody this because I, for no reason at all, feel very strongly. But if you had to start, bench, cut, the sandwich, the panini, and the wrap, what's your rotation?
We're starting the sandwich for sure. Um, we'll bench the panini and we'll cut the wrap.
What do you have against the wrap, if I may ask?
Nothing, honestly. That's actually a harder question than I thought. I thought that was going to be a lot easier when you were asking it, but
Yeah.
the panini and the sandwich could kind of, I guess one could go because the panini essentially is a sandwich just heated up. So
Yep.
maybe it's just preference. Maybe it's just preference for me.
All right, that's fair. All right. So bringing everything back to square one, Eric, where can we follow your career? Where can we watch your highlights? And where can we watch your upcoming games in Uruguay?
Yeah, I think Instagram, social media is obviously the easiest way to kind of stay up to date. There's a website called Basket Pass, has all Latin America basketball on it. That's where most of my family and friends watch my games. But yeah, I'll be in Uruguay for the next 7, 8 months for this upcoming season, and just looking forward to another opportunity to continue this career going forward.
Well, thank you, Eric, for stopping by and looking forward to continue to track how things develop.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
All right. So, Zach with an H, he's Eric Demers, and we will see you again real soon. Now we will see you again real soon. Take care, guys.